Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed.
Hear me?
Greetings, fellow listeners. You are listening to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. My name is Christian Taylor, and thank you for clicking on today's recording. And I just want to start by saying, hope you guys are doing well, and happy holidays to all you listening in. We are now in early December, and over here in Illinois, the temperatures are dropping like mad. It has been extremely cold the last couple of weeks, but we are all hanging in there, and things are going pretty well. We have our Christmas tree up, and funny enough, last night I did my Christmas wrappings. I got all my presents wrapped for the most part, so that's all wrapped up and done. I'll see myself out. But anyway, I hope you guys are having a great Christmas season, and just happy holidays to all you guys. Really, I love Christmas. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Other things going on? Really, work's going okay. Been working my butt off at the schools, being a substitute teacher, and been working a lot at Walmart. So I've just been working relentlessly, and that's really about it. Just nonstop work. And I did do something pretty cool recently. I actually wrote 3 letters to some guys who were in the Apollo program back in the 60s, and I'm actually very excited. I hope they reply. I really do. As you guys remember, I believe I mentioned this to you. I did write to astronaut Charlie Duke last year, and he replied to me. And I wrote a letter to Dr. Robert Ballard, who found the Titanic wreck. I wrote a letter to him around this year as well, and he sent me back an autographed picture. So I've been having a lot of luck so far with writing letters to people. It's very cool. I think people have forgotten how fun it is to write letters. I like writing them. It's so much better than typing them out. When you type out your letters, for me, it just seems lifeless and meaningless. But yeah, been doing that, and life is going very good. I have no complaints. And other very exciting news is that my mom purchased tickets literally just yesterday for her, me, and my father to go see AC/DC again. Now, for any of you who've been listening to the show for a long time, you'll know that AC/DC is my favorite band of all time. I had the most amazing honor of seeing these guys live back on February 20th, 2016 at the St. Louis Enterprise Center, where I've seen other bands like Kiss and Electric Light Orchestra. I've seen them in that building as well. But AC/DC was my very first concert. I was 16 years old, and that show single-handedly changed my life. That night, the gates opened for the world of rock and roll, and I walked in, and rock and roll has changed my life. I love music. Rock and roll is a religion that will never let you down, in my personal opinion. So that is very exciting. They're going to be playing in Chicago at Soldier Field on May 24th of next year. So by the time this current school year wraps up, they'll be there. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be thinking about this a lot coming up. Guys, I have been waiting 9 years to see these guys live again. I'm not kidding you. I've been going on the internet every other day just waiting for any sign of news about what they were going to do next. And what a wait it's been. 9 straight years of just waiting. And what a journey it's been. And to have the tickets and knowing that I'm going to be seeing them before too long, it's just, I'm still having a hard time processing that, if you will. So that has got me very excited. And also our mini movie that you guys remember that I worked on with my good friend Calvin Davis. It's going to be going through a few more film festivals by early next year. So as of right now, there's no current film festivals going on, so hopefully by January and February and March of next year, we'll get more news on the progress that our movie is making. I hope we win 1 or 2 more awards. That'd be very excellent. But other than that, guys, there's nothing else to really report about anything else really going on. Now, this recording I'm very excited about because I was really thinking about I wanted to do something a little special because we are nearing 100 episodes, guys, and I'll talk more about that near the end, but this season is only going to be 8 episodes, and we're already halfway through, and I wanted these last few recordings for this year to really stand out, and I had this really cool idea, funny enough, while I was working at Walmart like earlier this week, and I had this awesome idea. So I wanted to review with you guys a movie that's pretty special to me because this was the very first movie that I saw in theaters back in 2005 when I was 6 years old. And what movie is that? Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. This movie was released on October 5th, 2005. The directors were Nick Park, Steve Box, and this movie ended up winning an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature Film. And it was distributed by DreamWorks Pictures, along with United International Pictures, based on the Wallace and Gromit story by Nick Park. This movie ended up grossing around $192.7 million. And my mom took me to see this movie back when it was released, and I'll get more into that here in a minute. But the movie itself, so Wallace and Gromit Curse of the Were-Rabbit, is a 2005 animated comedy film that was directed by Nick Park and Steve Box. It was produced and made and owned by DreamWorks Animation, and DreamWorks has a long list of very successful animated pictures. Too many to count, but they're a very successful company. And they were in collaboration with Aardman Animations. It was the second feature-length film by Aardman after the 2000 movie Chicken Run, another movie that I watched a lot growing up, and the last DreamWorks animation film distributed by its parent DreamWorks Pictures. As the studio spun off as an independent studio in 2004, until its acquisition by NBC Universal in 2016, the film debuted in Sydney, Australia on September 4th of 2005, before being released in theaters in the United States on October 7th, 2005. And the United Kingdom a week later on October 14th, 2005. Now, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, it is a parody of the classic monster movies and the Hammer horror films, and also serves as part of the Wallace and Gromit film series created by Park. The film centers around the good-natured yet eccentric cheese-loving inventor Wallace, who was voiced by the late great Peter Samuels, and his intelligent, quiet dog Gromit, in their latest venture as pest control agents. They come to the rescue of their town plagued by rabbits before the annual giant vegetable competition. However, the duo soon find themselves against a giant rabbit consuming the town's crops. And that is kind of a brief little plot analysis here, and we'll get more into the story a little bit about some of my favorite parts, because this is really, in my opinion, one of the greatest, clay work animations that I've ever had the honor of seeing. Like, Channing, my little sister, my parents, and my little brother Connor, the four of them, I came home from work like a few days ago, and the four of them were watching Curse of the Were-Rabbit on the TV, and I remember looking at it like, guys, this movie has aged extremely well. It's just so crazy to think about that this movie is going to be 20 years old next year. I mean, I just cannot believe that, but this movie looks amazing. Like, the animation in this, like, it is very clean. It's amazing. So the The film features an expanded cast of characters relative to the previous Wallace and Gromit shorts, because if you guys remember, this was the fourth feature, if you will, in the series, and the previous three shorts that were done did not, include like any other characters other than like maybe one or two side characters, but that was it. All the sets of like Wallace and Gromit going through their city, it was always completely empty. And I think the reason for that, I think the studio may have been on a very like tight budget, so they couldn't really like, add in people. But with Curse of the Were-Rabbit, like they had enough money, like they added in tons and tons of people to make the city, very, very alive. And the movie has quite the voice cast as well. And I'll voice off some of the voice actors here in a minute, but while the film was considered a box office disappointment in the US by DreamWorks Animation, it was more commercially successful internationally. It also received critical acclaim and won a number of film awards, including, like I said, the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, making it the second and latest film from DreamWorks Animation to win that award, following Shrek, as well as the first stop-motion film to win. In January 2022, now guys, what I'm about to read to you is another reason why I wanted to cover this movie. 2 years ago in January, a new feature film, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, was announced, which is due to release in 2024 on Netflix worldwide, except for the UK, where it will premiere first on the BBC before also coming to Netflix at a later date. So we have a brand new Wallace and Gromit installment coming out in just a couple of weeks. I figured, hey, better time as any to talk about Curse of the Were-Rabbit, because it has a lot of value to me. And it was the very first movie that my mom took me to see in the theater, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. That was the gate opener for me of the movie theater, and how magical it is to go to the movie theater. It was amazing. And this was really a big highlight for me in my childhood. It's just one of those things. It may not seem like much to some people, but for me, I've always enjoyed the little things of just like, I went to the movie theater with my mom to go see a movie. Like, I live for that stuff. Like, that was a big thing to me. And some of the voice actors that we have in this movie, we have the late great Peter Sallis, who voiced Wallace. He sadly passed away. We have Helena Carter, who you guys may be familiar with. She is featured in almost every Tim Burton movie. Like, she's in a lot of Tim Burton projects. And she also played Bellatrix in the later Harry Potter movies. We have Ralph Fiennes, I think is how you say his name. You guys may remember him. He was the evil chef in The Menu. It was a good movie. I thought The Menu was pretty good. He also played the main evil Nazi officer in Schindler's List. And he was also, funny enough, he was Voldemort in the later Harry Potter films as well. And we have Peter Kay as a voice actor, and then we have James Mather, I think I say his name, and Ben Whitehead. Those are some of the voice actors for this movie. Now, going into the plot a little more, so the plucky characters from a series of animated shorts, Wallace and his dog Gromit, make their feature debut here. This was the first Wallace and Gromit feature film, because before this, they had done only 3 shorts, and each one was only about 30 minutes long, while the movie had a runtime of pretty much an hour and a half. After starting a pest control business, the duo soon lands a job from the Owling Lady Tudington, who was voiced by Helena Carter, to stop a giant rabbit from destroying the town's crops. Both Wallace and the stuffy Victor V for the lady's affections. So Victor and Wallace both like this lady, and they're both fighting for her attention. If Wallace wants to please his pretty client and best Victor, he needs to capture that pesky bunny. And the movie it has a really good plot in my opinion. Like as some of the notes I found mentioned earlier, this movie does really feel like it takes a lot of inspiration from like the old like 1930s, horror popcorn flicks, like the original Wolfman movie and stuff like that. Like, there was a lot of that kind of stuff, in this movie, and I gotta tell you though, guys, when I saw the trailers for this, it scared the crap out of me. Like, I remember seeing some of the trailers for this movie on TV, and the ads did a good job of like showing, what to expect. Like, it showed some of the Rare Rabbit transformation scenes, and it scared me. It definitely spooked me, and I really wanted to go see this. And what's pretty funny about my experience watching this in the theater was that I drove my mom crazy because, keep in mind, when this movie came out in theaters, I was 6 years old at the time, and when she took me to the theater to see this, I was throwing myself on the ground, rolling down the alleyway to our seats, and my mom was pretty fed up and done by that point. And me and my little brother Connor, we actually watched the three main Wallace and Gromit shorts when we were kids. We watched them a lot, so of course when the movie was announced, like, come on, I had to go see it. And while we're talking about these shorts, so the three shorts that were made before this feature film, the first one was called A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers, and A Close Shave. And I didn't know this, but they actually ended up doing another short after Curse of the Were-Rabbit. 3 years later, in 2008, they did another short called Wallace and Gromit, A Matter of Loaf and Death. And I've seen that one as well, but I had no idea. We didn't learn about that one until like many years later after it was released. But yeah, A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers, and A Close Shave, those are the only three shorts that existed up until that point before Curse of the Were-Rabbit came out. And what really blew my mind when I looked these up, I had no idea that they were as old as they are. I mean, guys, Wallace and Gromit, they made their debut 35 years ago. A Grand Day Out was released in 1989. Like, I had no idea that these characters were that old. I mean, these guys are the same age as The Simpsons. Like, that's crazy. The Wrong Trousers came out in 1993, and then A Close Shave was released in 1995. And then 10 years later, we got the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And then 3 years later after that, we got A Matter of Loaf and Death. Now we're getting A Vengeance Most Foul. 16 years later after... No, 20 years later after Curse of the Were-Rabbit, we're getting another sequel. It only took, almost 2 full decades, which is pretty crazy. It's a long time of a wait for a sequel, but, yeah, it's just crazy, the passage of time on some things, But I think Wallace and Gromit's a great film series. Like, I love them a lot, and they made quite the impact. Like, I remember telling my mom and my dad this. I actually found out something pretty cool. So here's a little fun fact for you guys. Wallace and Gromit, funny enough, they saved a cheese company. So in 1989, there was a cheese company called Wensleydale, and they were getting ready to go bankrupt because of failing cheese sales. But when Wallace and Gromit, A Grand Day Out was released, in the short, Wallace and Gromit fly to the moon to get some of that pristine cheese, because I think it's like an old tale you tell your children that the moon's made out of cheese or something. So Wallace and Gromit build a rocket in their garage, or not the garage, in their basement, and they fly to the moon to get cheese. And when they land on the moon, and Wallace and Gromit walk around, they pick a spot, and Gromit takes out he takes out a knife and he cuts out a square of cheese out of the moon and puts it on one of his crackers and tastes it. And he likes it, but he's like, "What do you think this tastes like? Wensleydale?" And that small piece of dialogue single-handedly saved that cheese company, Wensleydale, because after the short came out, the Wensleydale cheese products sold like crazy. Like, their sales went through the roof after the short came out. And I actually read that Wallace and Gromit have now become like this company's mascots because they saved the company, And it was a pure coincidence. It was just a throwaway line, I think, and this short ended up saving a cheese company. Like, how ironic is that? Just a little bit of trivia for you guys about Wallace and Gromit and that small little piece of info, but that's pretty cool. So let's take a look at the box office here for a second. So Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit opened in 3,645 cinemas, and it had an opening weekend of grossing of $16 million, putting it at number 1 for that particular weekend. During its second weekend, it came in spot number 2, just 200,000 behind The Fog. The Curse of the Were-Rabbit grossed $192.6 million at the box office, of which $56.1 million was from the United States. As of January of 2023, it is the second highest grossing stop-motion animated film of all time, right behind Aardman's first feature film, which was Chicken Run. So it seems that the film did do pretty well internationally, and that's a good thing. So I think it's pretty cool. So it's got a few very big achievements under its belt, to say the least. So let's take a look at the production here for a minute. So in March of 2000, it was officially announced that Wallace and Gromit were to star in their own feature film. It would have been Aardman's second film after the Tortoise and the Hare, which was subsequently abandoned by the studio in July of 2001, owing to script problems. So the directors, Nick Park and Steve Boggs, have often referred to the film as the world's first vegetarian horror film. Well, that's funny. Peter Salas, who voiced Wallace, is joined in the film by, like I said, Ralph Fiennes and Helena Carter, as well as Peter Kay, Nicholas Smith, and Liz Smith. And as established in the preceding short films, Gromit is a silent character communicating purely through body language. The film was originally going to be called Wallace and Gromit: The Great Vegetable Plot, but the title was changed as the market research disliked it. The first reported release date for The Great Vegetable Plot was November of 2004. Production officially began in September of 2003, and the film was set for release on September 30th, 2005. In July of 2003, Entertainment Weekly referred to the film as Wallace and Gromit: Curse of the Were-Rabbit. I think it was a good thing they changed the title. That one seems to really stick better, in my opinion. I think that one fits this plot a lot better. Because the plot focuses more, on the were-rabbit more than, the little vegetable side plot of, like, Gromit trying to get Wallace to go on his diet, but he keeps cheating by eating cheese. So, the diet aspect isn't really, like, the main, storyline. It's more focused on the were-rabbit himself. But I had no idea that the film was already in production basically by 2000. That's pretty crazy. But Park said that after separate test screenings with British and American audiences, including children, he adjusted the character's speech for American audiences. Park was often sent notes from DreamWorks, which stressed him out. He recalled one note that Wallace's car should be Trender, which he disagreed with because he felt making things look old-fashioned made it look more ironic. The vehicle Wallace drives in the film is an Austin A35 van. In collaboration with Aardman, in the spring of 2005, a road-going replica of the model was created by brothers Mark and David Aardman, founders of the International Austin A30-A35 register for promotional purposes. In a 500 man-hour customization, an original 1964 van received a full-body restoration before being dented and distressed to perfectly replicate the model van used in the film. The official color of the van is pristine green, named in honor of Nick Park's hometown. The name was chosen by the art director and Mark Army. So those are some of the notes for you about the movie itself. Like, I always like it when movies find, very cool and creative ways of promoting their movies. That's pretty cool that they built a full-size replica of the vehicle that Wallace and Gromit use in the movie, and that vehicle has now become part of the team because that van was used again in A Matter of Life and Death, and now it's being used again for A Vengeance Most Foul. So that's basically, it's kind of like the Wallace and Gromit mobile. Because in the shorts they did back in the 90s, Wallace and Gromit used a motorcycle with a sidecar. They didn't have the van yet. So Curse of the Were-Rabbit was the introduction of this van, and now it's become a staple in the Wallace and Gromit lore, if you will. But some of my favorite scenes from this, I was actually, leading up to this recording, I was actually watching a couple of scenes from this movie, and there are some that scared the bejeebies out of me. Like, my favorite scene in the movie was when we see the transformation for the first time, and I won't spoil who the Were-Rabbit is for anyone who hasn't seen the movie yet. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's one of the main characters in the movie. And when we see this character transform into the Were-Rabbit for the first time, it's absolutely horrifying. Like, I rewatched it on YouTube recently, and it looks like it was taken straight out of, one of the horror movies they did back in the 30s and 40s. I mean, guys, the animation in this movie is really, really good. I believe the exact term for this is clay animation. And it's sort of starting to make a comeback a little bit, it seems like, because just last year we had a sequel to Chicken Run. It was called Revenge of the Nugget, I think is what it was called. And now we're getting a Wallace and Gromit sequel. So it seems that claymation is still pretty popular now, which, that's pretty good. But yeah, that first transformation scene was still like, dude, it was good. Like, really, really good. And I was surprised to see, like, how good the animations are. I mean, all of the characters, moved around like normal human beings. Because if you guys notice, a lot of animated films, like, the characters act a little weird. Like, it seems that in some cases, some companies may have some trouble trying to really animate their people to make them seem alive as possible. But in this movie, the entire, population of this town that Wallace and Gromit live in, like, it is very alive. Like, this movie's animation has aged extremely well. And another scene that I really enjoyed in this was that first chase sequence where Gromit chases the Were-Rabbit in their vehicle, and the Were-Rabbit starts digging underground, and then Gromit shoots a rope at it, and it wraps around the rabbit's leg, and Gromit gets dragged down into the hole with the rabbit, and so Gromit's being dragged, underground through this tunnel while he's in the van, and Dude, that animation, it's like, my gosh, I'm just sitting there watching this, like, how long did it take this team to animate this sequence? You know, like, it was just so well done. I mean, I can't begin to imagine, just the amount of work that was put into this movie, and I gotta say, 20 years later, man, this movie, it's great. If you guys haven't seen Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I really recommend you guys check this out. I think it's a really good, family-friendly film, and I think the kiddos will really like it. It's a good movie. And I'm actually very, very excited for A Vengeance Most Foul. My little brother Connor is a huge Wallace and Gromit fan, and I think he's really going to enjoy this movie. I am really bummed out that A Vengeance Most Foul is going to be releasing on Netflix here in the US. It's not going to be in movie theaters, which I think is a big mistake. I really wish that they were releasing it in theaters, but hey, we're getting a new sequel, so I can't be too upset about it. But getting a new Wallace and Gromit sequel, I think it's pretty cool. I never thought they would make another one. I really didn't think so, but I think that's about going to wrap it up for this recording, guys. I know this one's going to be a little shorter than usual. It's just that I've been extremely busy recently with my job, with both my jobs and my personal life. Just a lot is really going on right now. But Wallace and Gromit Curse of the Were-Rabbit, if I had to give it a rating, I would give it about, I would say a 9 out of 10. I really do think so. This is a good movie. And I remember when I was a kid, me and my best friend Jonathan and his sister Julia, my cousin Julia, she's more like a big sister to me. But the three of us, when we were kids, we used to run outside and play, and we used to have a game called Curse of the Were-Rabbit, where one of us would be the were-rabbit, and we would chase each other around Grandma's house. We'd be like running in the yard, finding places to hide. It was just little games like that. Like we all loved this movie when we were kids, so it has a lot of sentimental value to me, and it helped make a lot of amazing memories from my childhood that I hold really dear to my heart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this short recording of me talking about Wallace and Gromit Curse of the Were-Rabbit. A Vengeance Most Foul is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, and me and my family are definitely going to be sitting down to watch it. So you guys stay safe out there, stay positive, stay happy, keep living life to the fullest, and let's enjoy this holiday season. Until next time, my name is Christian Taylor, and you are listening to the Tales of Music and Film.